Now we're recording.
Ok. Bem, eu vou começar por fazer um agradecimento a todos em português, em primeiro lugar, em meu nome, e da SWOT Recursos Humanos em parceria com o Kent Vaughan e David Williams, que não sei, para o caso não conhecerem, foram os escritores e fundadores do método The 3 Keys of Execution. Nós estamos neste momento a organizar um conjunto de webinars que nós consideramos pertinentes e com alguns temas do interesse de todos os nossos parceiros, clientes e colegas, após um breve questionário que nós fizemos. E de facto o dia de hoje pretende apresentar algumas ideias e noções estratégicas, sobretudo para líderes e profissionais que têm que gerir equipas e sobretudo com todo este mundo novo normal que nós estamos neste momento a viver, que vos possam auxiliar de alguma forma a gerir equipas e a retirar daqui algumas ideias. O evento vai ser todo em inglês. Nós vamos depois também partilhar a gravação deste evento convosco. Se por algum motivo quiserem ter acesso à informação em português ou detalhar algum aspecto mais em pormenor ou adequado às vossas organizações, poderão contactar-me ou à Maria Pantaleão, que entretanto não está aqui, mas não está visível. E vou deixar neste momento, vou dar neste momento a palavra ao Kent Vaughan e ao David Williams. Espero que gostem e que estejam neste momento em segurança e que esteja tudo bem convosco e que continue tudo bem convosco, acreditando que vai tudo correr bem. So Ken and David, it's up to you. Do you understand anything?
Yeah, mucho, yeah, muy bueno. So that was my Spanish coming out, sorry.
Okay, so it's up to you. I will give you the word to you, Kent.
Awesome.
And David.
All right, great, fantastic, thank you.
Hola, ¿cómo você está? Hola, you don't have to
Muito bem.
Hola. Sorry, we're so glad to have you today. David Williams and myself, Kent Vaughan, are really excited to partner with SLOT and Recursos Humanos, Sonia and Mario, about the 3 Keys of Execution. This, as Sonia said, will be in English. David and I don't really know very much Portuguese, a little more Spanish, but not so much. So we will try to speak well. If you have questions, please stop us at any time. You feel free to stop us. We will have time at the end to stop and have lots of questions as well. But at any moment, if you can put something in the chat box, you can also just say, hey, just a minute, I have a question. So we will try to speak clearly and well. And I'm going to share my screen. We're going to watch some slides together. You'll still be able to see us on the side there in the pictures. But let me get this on full screen here. So, okay. So today's webinar is how to improve results with a process we call the 3 Keys of Execution. And David and I will just bounce back and forth about this. This comes from our book, The 3 Keys of Execution, that came out almost a year ago on Amazon and also on Barnes & Noble. This is really the culmination of 20 years that David and I have spent in this space, along with our partners, Brian Cox and Steve Robinette and others. And really what we've been working on is, when you think about execution, it sounds hard, it sounds difficult, and it can be very difficult unless you have a process and a methodology, a repeatable process. And we worked with another process for many years that was a good process, but it was hard for people to implement. And so what we've been really working on the last 4 years is how to refine this, how to simplify this, so really anyone can apply it. A student can apply it in school. A parent can apply it with their children who are in school. An individual can apply it with their family. Businesses large and small can apply it. That was our goal, to give some people something that would be easy to apply. It does require some work. They are keys of execution. They don't just happen on their own, but it's so much easier than just trying to do it differently every single time. In fact, Inc. magazine recommended the book last year as a must-read for the summer. So we're very appreciative that one of the Inc. magazine editors picked up the book and found it and read it and said, yeah, this is a book you should read. So it's had good reviews. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk really about three big areas today. The first area is engagement. And that's really important because we all know that when we are engaged or excited or motivated, we work harder, we work better, we do better. And so engagement is very important. Secondly, we're going to talk about what we call lift, guidance, and energy. The three issues that come up every single time an organization or an individual sets a goal. And we'll talk about that a lot in the next few minutes. And finally, we will in fact talk about the three keys of execution. How do you use the three keys of execution to help you be successful? We'll also, for just a few minutes at the very end, talk about a tool that you might think of as a digital compass to guide you and your team through all of the choices that are available, all the things they can do every day so that everyone stays on track to get the most important things accomplished day in and day out. I'm really not sure what it is like in Portugal in terms of people setting goals, but in the United States, there's something called New Year's resolutions. I suspect that you've heard of that. Maybe you do that too, right? At the beginning of the year, you set goals for yourself. I'm not sure what the average is in Portugal or anywhere in Europe, actually, but in the United States, there is an 8% probability that you will complete your New Year's resolutions. That's a very, very small percentage. Only 8% out of 100 will achieve their goals for the year. That's not a good enough number for me, if you think about it, right? I mean, it's not even 25%. It's not even half. It's a very, very small number. So we don't want that number to happen. We see it happen again and again in organization. Now, it looks like I have a chat here. Let's see what the chat is. Chat says, oh, yes. Okay, thank you for New Year's resolutions. Thanks, Maria. Thank you. That's good. All right, so let's jump into engagement and talk about 4 pillars of engagement. And with that, David, why don't you introduce us to the first pillar?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you everybody for being with us on the call today on this webinar. Obviously, we're excited to be able to partner with Sonia and Maria there in Portugal. So and we are honored. We're deeply honored to be able to be sharing this information with you. So when we talk about engagement, engagement is an output. Right. And so if you want to increase the employee engagement, you got to ask yourself the question, what are we going to do to increase employee engagement? So if you think of personal relationships, what does somebody need to do to show you and prove to you that they love you? So it's the same thing with engagement. And so a lot of times people think engagement is an input, but really engagement is an output. So if you want employees to be engaged, there are certain things you need to be doing to have them be engaged. But when we talk about engagement, there are 4 pillars. So how do you know your employees are engaged? How do you know what are you doing as leaders to help them be engaged? And here are the 4 things that we've identified. So the first pillar is that I have to feel valued. If I don't feel valued from the organization, then I won't be engaged. So what do we mean when we say valued? There's actually 2 components. There's 2 components to feeling valued. The first component is I am recognized for the job that I'm doing. I'm recognized for the good work that I'm doing. People recognize me for my performance within the organization, and there is a formal process in which I'm recognized. And there's also an informal process, right? So my boss tells me every day, hey, great job, great work. I get it in my performance review. So that's one way that I feel valued. I'm recognized for the work that I'm doing. The second way that I feel valued is that I'm asked for my opinion. I'm asked for my advice, right? So a senior leader wants to talk to me. So a senior leader wants to talk to me and say, hey, David, we got this problem. What do you think? Give us some advice, give us some input. So that's the way that I feel valued. So the first one is I feel valued. The second part, or the second pillar of engagement, is connected. And if you think about what we're all experiencing today with the coronavirus, with the pandemic, this is becoming a major issue. What do we do to make sure that our employees, they feel connected to what's going on, right? So even though we're working in different different homes now, everybody's having to work from home. In order for me to engage, I need to feel connected. So what are we doing as leaders, particularly in the days environment? What are we doing to make sure that people feel connected to the organization? All right. So once again, I as a leader have to do something to help people feel connected. So that's the second pillar of engagement. The third pillar of engagement is this, is that I have to see my contribution. I need to know that what I'm doing day in and day out is making a difference, right? Because if I'm just coming into work and I like to use the analogy of the hamster wheel. So you have a hamster, a little mouse, they go in the wheel and they spin around, they spin around, they spin around. If that's all that I think I am doing, I won't feel like I'm making a difference. I won't be able to see my contribution. So I need to understand, because I'm doing this today, it's having an impact on the organizational goals in the future. So the third thing is I need to see and understand that I'm making a contribution. And then the fourth pillar of engagement is that I am growing. So I'm not just growing, I'm growing personally. I'm becoming a better person because I feel valued, I feel connected, I can see my contribution. So now I'm growing personally, and I'm also growing professionally, right? So there's the personal growth, and then there's the professional growth. And these are the four pillars of engagement. And so when we talk about engagement, it's valued, connected, contribution, and growing. So Kent, is there anything you want to add to that before we go on to the next slide?
Well, I just was thinking, when we are engaged in our jobs, we are engaged in our families, we're engaged in a personal endeavor, maybe
Olha, Du, isto é muito importante.
Sport or soccer or something else. Whenever you're engaged in something like that,
Isto aqui é um webinar que eu vi por acaso e sublinhei, dado por uns americanos.
We have to get,
foi promovido por uma empresa de recursos humanos portuguesa, mas são os americanos.
I'll need to mute everyone. I got to figure out how to do that.
I think it's Jose Carlos. You might want to mute.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Things come up all the time. So when we're engaged, we're excited. You wake up before the alarm. You want to be there. You want to be part of that. We've all been in part of teams, organizations, families where we're very engaged, we're very motivated. As I often say, if someone is very engaged, they will not leave you to go work somewhere else for a few dollars, right? They won't, just for a little bit of money, because they are part of a winning team. They're part of making a difference. And that's why David says engagement is an output. We'll talk more about this in a few minutes, but let's switch gears to the second topic, what we call lift, guidance, and energy. And as we think about lift, guidance, and energy, these are three areas that we've got to consider every time we have a goal. Every time you try some new strategic initiative, some new goal, some new thing you want people to do, we've got to consider how much lift is it going to take, how much guidance will be required, how much energy will be required over time. So let's break these down each for just a minute. So lift, you see this woman lifting up a child. It's a pretty day. The sun is out. There's flowers. And it seems like getting this goal started, this initiative, is going to be easy because we've been thinking about it, we've been planning for it, we've been reading about it. And this is what often happens when we begin any new goal, any new strategic initiative. We're just excited. This is really going to be easy. And then pretty soon we realize this isn't nearly as easy as we thought it was going to be. The weight can almost become staggering after a while because it's just harder than we thought it was going to be. So that's the lift. How do we get this going? So often leaders think, we had a few meetings, we had a webinar, we sent out some emails, everyone should be excited about this goal. We ought to get this goal started. And the truth is, the bell curve is alive and well in every organization. On this side of the bell curve, you have some superstars that are working very hard to get that goal done. On the other side are people that really don't care. In the middle are a lot of very, very busy people who want to do it when things calm down. And so often as leaders, we see the few superstars over here doing this, working on this. We think, oh, everything is fine. And we leave it and go on to something else. What we don't realize is that people are going to need guidance, ongoing guidance. Here's the man out for a walk. He had the beautiful forest, big open field, and he thinks, oh, great. What we tend to underestimate is the ongoing guidance people are going to need to stay on track. Because what? They don't really want to get to the field or to the trees or the forest. They want to get to the other side and get to the beach. How do we get to the beach? How do we help people navigate all of the things that come up every day. We all know that there's no way that everyone can spend all day, every day, working on the most important goals or the most important strategies for your organization. But what if they could find some time every day to do 2 or 3 of the most important things? Think about the cumulative benefit of everyone taking action every day, 2 or 3 actions, 2 or 3 behaviors on the goals. And that's why we have to continue to have guidance in place to continue to guide people through the forest, through the trees to get there. David, what would you add about lifter guidance?
Yeah, no, you nailed it, right? Because with the lift and with the guidance, a lot of times we get so enamored, so excited about this new project and this new thing that we're doing. We consistently underestimate the lift, whether it be Six Sigma, whether it be Lean, whether it be implementing a new ERP, CRM, any major initiatives. We take a look at and go, this is going to be a piece of cake. It's going to be easy, right? And as you get into the middle of implementing this new way of thinking, you're right. People do underestimate the lift, and I love the pictures that we use there. The baby, we think it's going to be like lifting a baby, and then the next thing you know, it's like lifting dumbbells, right? A bunch of weights. And then the guidance piece is this whole concept of providing guidance, providing coaching. Too many times organizations just tell people, hey, go out there, get this done. And they don't provide guidance. They don't provide coaching. There's nobody that's helping them to make sure that they're moving in the right direction. And so even if we get the lift taken care of, we're excited, okay, we've overcome it, implementation begins. What are we going to be doing to make sure that people are moving in the right direction? And that's what's missing, right? So the daily guidance, the daily interaction to coach people, to guide people, to make sure that they're actually going to the beach, they're going to the coast, and they're not necessarily going to the forest, right? So just to kind of restate those points again. And then obviously going to the third one is energy, right? So we underestimate the energy that's going to be needed to keep a process alive. So when you look at this illustration that we're using of a petrol tank, we call it, obviously a gas tank, petrol over in Europe and Portugal. When you look, we underestimate the energy that's going to need to keep this new thing alive, right? And so we understand that energy is going to be needed. And so whenever you have energy needed, you're going to spend energy. There's nothing wrong with spending energy. But too many times what we end up doing, we get the petrol tank down to empty and we don't take the time to fill it back up, right? And so energy is going to be spent. And so what we want to be able to do is to provide, positive energy every day. So we like to use the illustration of electricity, of lightning in the sky. This is what we need every day to keep our process alive. So we got the lift, so we're doing good. We got the guidance, we're moving in the right direction. Now, what's the energy that we're going to be spending and refilling up every single day to make sure we keep this thing moving in the right direction? And if you look at any process implementation within your organization that has failed, chances are it's because of one or all 3 of these areas: lift, guidance, and energy. We don't understand it. We underestimate it. And then we look back and go like, wow, what happened? Why are we not getting the goals that we thought, or why are we not giving the results, or are we not achieving the goals that we thought we would achieve, right? So it's right there, lift, guidance, and energy. Those are stumbling blocks for any type of process implementation.
Absolutely. One of the things we all have to be aware of today, if we're going to be really honest with ourselves, there are energy drainers everywhere around us, aren't there? You can turn on the news and that can drain your energy. You listen to someone who's complaining about everything, that can drain your energy. So beware of the energy drainers around you. And we would say just stay away from those as best you can. We're not saying don't watch the news, right? But don't watch the news all day. That's not very helpful. Watching it news some, right? Talking to a friend. And David and I will tell you, we have been partners and friends for almost 20 years now. And David was yesterday saying, Kent, you look at the glass half full. I tend to look at it half empty. If we're just honest, right? I tend to say, it's going to be okay. And David's like, what are we going to do, right? And that's what makes us good partners with Steve Robinette and Brian Cox, that we all bring our different talents and abilities together in our business, okay? But beware of energy drainers. And one of those is certainly in English, it's called HALT. When you're hungry, when you're angry, when you're lonely, if you're tired. HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. If any of those going on, be careful about the decisions you make. Be careful about the things you say. Be careful about where you go. for me, I get a lot of energy just walking in the evening. At night after dinner, my wife and I walk around the neighborhood. You know what? There are lots of people walking. We stay away from each other, walking. Last week on Friday and Thursday, I decided to text just all of my friends on my phone and say, hey, how are you doing with COVID-19? Happy Easter. That's all I said. Just, how are you doing? Happy Easter. And that gave me energy, just reaching out in a friendly way to my friends on my phone. Many texted back, many did not. So what are the things you can do to increase your own energy? What are the things you can do to increase the energy of your team? So this can sound rather daunting, except there is hope. There's hope. We're going to talk now about a process and a tool that can help you as you try to lift the goals off, get them going, create guidance and energy for your team. And what you'll find is your team is just as good at creating guidance and energy when everyone is bought in to the process. So the 3 keys of execution are simplicity, visibility, and accountability. We're going to talk about each of these 3 keys in detail over the next few slides. But as you think about any goal you have ever accomplished in your life, personal goals, professional goals, any goal you've ever accomplished, you'll find that you used all of these keys. You may not have called them this, but we are certain that in virtually every case, you use some version of simplicity, visibility, and accountability. So with that in mind, let's talk about simplicity specifically first, the first key of execution. And Dave, why don't you walk us through this one?
Yeah, so when you think about the 3 keys of execution and you think about employee engagement, you think about lift, guidance, and energy, everything that has been designed in this process of execution, every one of these keys have been designed in such a way to have a positive impact on what we call LGE, lift, guidance, energy, and also have a positive impact on increasing employee engagement. So as we go through these 3 keys, understand that this process has been designed to help you, other individuals, help organizations be able to achieve the goals that they want to achieve. So the first key of simplicity is turn the goal into the game by creating a finish line. So that's pretty simple, right? And so a lot of organizations might call it X to Y by win. Other organizations might use the acronym SMART to come up with what the idea of a goal is. But what we're saying is you have to turn the goal into the game by creating a finish line. So what do we mean when we say that? The first thing that people need to understand is what is it we need to accomplish. Everybody in the organization needs to be able to understand this, from the frontline employee all the way up to the CEO of the organization. Everybody needs to understand what is it that we need to achieve, what is it we need to accomplish. The second thing when it comes to simplicity is the why. So a lot of times organizations are pretty good at giving the what, but they don't give the why. So let me give you an example that all of us have probably experienced at home. So we tell our children, do your homework, make sure you eat all your vegetables, make sure you make up your bed. And as soon as we tell them, hey, this is the goal, obviously we're not using that language, but we're saying make up your bed, what's the next question that they get asked? Or what's the next thing you hear? Why? Why do I need to do that, Mom? Why do I need to do that, Dad? And what do we sometimes say as parents? Well, because I told you so. Right now, we are not that blunt in the business world, but that's what we're basically telling people when we don't give them the why. We just say, hey, here's the goal, be quiet, go out and do it. But if you want to be able to have a process of execution, what is it we want? What is it we want to achieve? The second thing is the why. And then the third thing within this context of simplicity, the key of simplicity, is how. How will we achieve it? So so give you an idea, we're going to increase revenue from $1 million to $2 million in 2020. All right. There are hundreds of ways that you can do to increase revenue. Hundreds of ways. But the critical thing that we need to identify as leaders, well, what is specifically, how are we going to do this? Right? We need to take all these 100 different ways and we need to be able to bring it in and narrow it down. So we say, hey, here's what we know. If we do this consistently, if this is what we really focus in on, we're going to be able to be successful. Give you an idea how this works. One of our clients wanted to, they're a temporary staffing company. So they provide employees to organizations that don't want to hire people full-time. So they're temporary employees. And so what this organization discovered is that we want to increase revenue, The why was, hey, we want to be able to hire as many people as we can. We like to be able to provide jobs in our communities. And then the third thing that they said, the how was, we are going to increase revenue by reducing turnover. So that's the how. Because they realized that if they were able to reduce the turnover, people would be working, they would have billable hours to the client, and that would be able to increase the revenue. So there's 100 different ways to increase revenue. This organization said, we're going to increase revenue by focusing on reducing turnover. So the what, the why, and the how. And so when you think about the next part of simplicity is that, you know, now that we got the what, now that we got the why, now that we got the how, everyone needs to understand what's very critical is the my, right? So is the my. So what, why, my, myself. Now we know that's not perfect English, but what we're saying is, what will I do? We got the what, the why, and the how. The next critical step that organizations and leaders need to do to make sure that people are engaged is what, why, my. What will I do? So Ken, why don't you? I know you have a lot of passion in this area of my, right? So you've given some really good insights to this piece. Why is the my so critical when it comes to simplicity? Why do I need to know my, right? So just, you know, I think people would be interested in your insights.
Well, it's interesting, David. I was thinking yesterday about the issues we hear again and again and again in organizations. As we have worked with organizations for the last 20 years, large organizations like FedEx, Nissan, Toyota, Walmart, and small organizations, lots of different sizes of organization, hundreds of people, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people. We hear the same issues again and again. The organizations tend to have too many goals. People don't often know what is the most important goal, or what are the top 2 or 3 goals. I don't even know what they are. It could be so many different things. And what we hear all of the time from people is, I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it. How am I in my job supposed to impact that goal? Mm-hmm. And I love what the German philosopher, psychiatrist, kind of a crazy guy, Nietzsche, said years ago. He said, if I understand the why for anything, I can accomplish the how. And so people absolutely have to understand why we're doing this. Why is this is important to us? One of our clients offers welfare services to families and children all over the state of Tennessee in the United States. Thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people. They offer welfare services to help, you know, homeless, help people who don't have enough to eat, and so on and so forth. And it's easy to stay focused on, I'm sorry, my wife just walked in with a smoothie. Wow, that was great. You didn't sound like you saw her. It's easy for them to stay motivated about their jobs when they remember why they're there. They're there to help families have enough to eat. Thank you. They're there to help families have a place to sleep, right? And so when they understand that why, that's great. That's really important. But every individual counselor needs to understand why he or she does the job. They're part of it. What can I do in my job to help offer these services to families? What am I doing? What do I need to be doing? If I understand what the goal is, and I understand why we're doing it, and I understand my part, wow, you have a good shot at me doing well at the goal. You have a good shot at me being successful at the goal. In the United States, there is a restaurant chain. I don't know that it's outside the United States very much, called Chick-fil-A. Okay, I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's okay. They're headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia, in the southeastern United States. The reason I'm telling you that is there's another restaurant chain that you have heard of, Kentucky Fried Chicken. I suspect. Do you have any Kentucky Fried Chickens in Portugal? Okay, yes. When I lived in Germany 30, 40 years ago, we had Kentucky Fried Chicken, so I thought maybe you did. Well, in Europe, they have Kentucky Fried Chicken. So in the United States, the average Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant does $1.3 million per year in revenue. Now, 1.3 in euros is maybe 2 million euros a year in revenue, right? Something like that, right? Now, compare that to Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A does about $4.4 million in revenue, nearly 6 million euros in revenue per year for every restaurant compared to the average Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant. Now, why do they do that? It's not because their chicken's that much better. It's not because their Coca-Cola is different. It's not. Their French fries are different. But what's different? What is different is at the Kentucky Fried Chicken, they're just selling you food. At Chick-fil-A, they're very focused on, we're here to serve you. When they refill your Coca-Cola at the dinner, when they hand you your meal, they say, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. They think of themselves as very much servant leaders offering a service. Now, we're not trying to sell you on Chick-fil-A or Kentucky Fried Chicken, but the idea is when everyone understands what, why, and my, you've got a winning combination there. Now, that's just the start. But think about it. If people aren't clear about what the goal is, why we're doing it, my part of it, what's the probability that they're going to consistently do something about it? It's very, very low. Un poquito in español. Un poquito. How do you say un poquito, Sonia, in Portuguese? You're on mute.
Poco.
Yeah, poco? Poco. Yeah, poco. Poco probability of being successful, okay? So simplicity is such an important, we've got a chat here. Let's see what chat they're saying here. We are hearing some noise from David. He's writing on his board. Are you writing on a board, David?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Someone's writing on a board. Please be careful if you're writing on a board. Just mute your microphone, if you would. Okay, thank you. Thank you. We understand why you might go on a board. There's so many things to do. Okay, so that's why simplicity is so important. If I don't understand what, why, and my part, I'm probably not going to very consistently do something about it. And look, so that's important. This next key is equally important. And the next key is visibility. Visibility has the greatest impact on engagement because it really addresses all four pillars. It addresses all of them. Do I feel valued? Do I feel connected? Do I feel like I'm making a difference, right? All of those are so important. Value, connected, difference, and I'm growing, right? Visibility allows me to see how I am making a difference, how I am connected. It shows the connections, and it can also show how I'm growing. So let's talk about what visibility does for us on the next slide. David, do you want to walk us through this?
Yeah, so what visibility does, the first thing it does, it lets everybody see what's going on within the organization, which obviously is critical. And so when we talk about visibility, the first thing we're talking about is weekly commitments. Everybody needs to see what I have committed to this week to help the organization achieve its goals. And so, you know, if people see what I'm committing to, it creates that accountability piece that we're going to talk about here in the third key coming up. So visibility. Everyone can see my weekly commitments. The CEO says, here's what I'm doing this week. The frontline employee says, here's what I'm doing this week. Once again, understand what we are trying to do is to create a culture of execution within the organization. So number one, we understand the weekly commitments. Number two is that people can see my daily actions, behaviors, and contributions. Our digital compass is set up in such a way that as I put, hey, this is what I did today, this is what I'm doing today, people can see that. People can learn from it. So daily actions, behaviors, and contributions. In order to have execution taking place, in order to create a culture of execution, you have to have this visibility of daily actions, behaviors, and contributions. And then the third thing is that a lot of times what we do within organizations, we don't tell people they're doing a good job a lot of times. And so you need to be able to offer high fives. We call them high fives here in the U.S. You know, you give somebody a high five, and you tell them great job, and that needs to be seen by everybody in the organization. If your boss just says, hey, great job to you, but doesn't let people know that you're doing a great job, we believe that can have an impact. So everybody needs to see the high fives, and anybody and everyone can praise somebody for doing something that was good to help the organization achieve its goals. And then the last component of visibility is that now that we got the high fives, now that we got weekly commitments, we got daily actions and behaviors, we can see it all in real time. Our digital compass is set up in such a way that in order for people to understand what's going on, people can see things happening in real time. Now, to kind of give you a visual to help you understand why this is so critical, you go to a football match, and imagine the football match is played this way. So on the first day, only the football players are on the pitch, on the field. Nobody's in the stands, no newspapers, no reporters, no cameras. So the first day, the football team plays on the field. The second day, they let all the fans come into the stadium and just sit there and look at an empty pitch. You say, well, nobody would do that. Follow with me. And then on the third day, what happens is the newspaper reports what the score was. How engaged would people be if football was played that way? But yet, don't we play it that way in the business world? People really don't know what's going on. They can't see what's happening to move the organization forward. And one of the things, one of the pillars of engagement is I have to see my contribution. So we're saying whatever process you use, whatever tool you use, people need to be able to see real time what's happening. Because if I did something
David, I'm sorry to say you're cutting out there. I'm not sure.
All right, why don't you take
one of the issues we're finding in the United States is Wi-Fi. Oh, maybe it's mine. Well, I just thought mine just stopped too, so it might have been me. I'm not sure what's happening. There's so many people working from home, it's affecting Wi-Fi for a lot of us. So I think you're back now, David. You're moving now. Looks like you're okay now.
Yeah, why don't you just take it over, Kent? So there might be a bug, so we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Well, I think what David said is so important, and that is when everyone can see the score at the soccer match, you know, they're motivated and they're excited about it. You know, the scoreboard is really not for the team, it's really for the fans, right? And so what we're trying to do is have everyone be motivated because they can see what everyone else is doing, how everyone else is doing their part. In this day and age, in the chaos of COVID-19, it's easy for people to feel a little like, hey, I'm an island. I'm off on an island by myself, right? The island of my apartment, my flat, my home, whatever, right? So today as leaders, there are lots of things we can do to make things more visible. Weekly calls, daily calls, sharing best practices. There are all kinds of things we can do. Our digital compass is a great tool that will help. But there are certainly things we can do right now today to be helpful with that. The last key is accountability. And that is that everyone daily accounts for completing their actions, behaviors, and contributions. So in other words, what did I do today to help us accomplish the goal every day? Many years ago, when my youngest son was beginning school, he was 5 years old. He was very excited to go to school. It was Sunday night, I'll never forget. And the next day, Monday, he was going to go to school with our two older children, our son and daughter. They were older than he was. And he was very excited. Let's see, we have a chat here. Let's see what the chat's saying. Okay, yeah, it just says make sure you mute it on your computer. Okay, so this son of mine was getting ready to go to school. And let me see how I get rid of this. Here, close this out. Hold on a second. Sorry. And so it's Sunday night. He's very excited about going to school. And he comes down to the kitchen from his bedroom with his toothbrush. And on his toothbrush, he has 7 layers of toothpaste lying up on the toothbrush. And he's holding it very, very carefully. And he said, Dad, if I brush with all this toothpaste tonight, am I good for the week? Can I not brush the rest of the week? I said, that's a great idea. That will save you time every morning. But by Wednesday, you'll have a problem with your teeth. What I said was you'll have sweaters on your teeth. He said, what do you mean sweaters? Brushing your teeth is one of those things we all know you have to do every day, right? Really more than once a day, once or twice a day, right? We know that. Ultimately, what we're saying is with goals, if everyone knows what the goal is, they know their part, they're doing their part, they're brushing their teeth every day, and everyone else can see that they've done their part, wow, you've got a probability of great success with the goal, you know? So let's give a simple example. Let's imagine that one of your goals your entire life has been to sing in an opera on the Teatro Nacional de São Carlos, a national, theater in Lisbon, right? I don't know if I said it very well, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The National Theater of St. Charles, I think in English what you would call that, right? When you are singing in a play or an opera, everyone else can see what everyone else is doing. It's not hard to have engagement because all of the plays, all of the actors and actresses, the director, everyone can see what everyone else is doing. And that's what we would say is when you have a winning combination. When you know that everyone else is doing their part. It's really hard to hide when you're on the stage together. And what we're saying is the more people are engaged this way, where they can share every day what they're doing, we're making comments about what people are doing in positive ways. We're giving them high fives, virtual high fives, digital high fives. It's amazing what happens, which is why we have created, and we're going to share with you, this cloud-based mobile platform to facilitate especially visibility and accountability. We have called it a couple of different things, but for years we've called it Execution in Your Pocket. We're now actually renaming it Blaze Digital Compass, because we like the idea of a compass guiding you through the forest to get to the beach, right? But it's made up, it's a tool that people can access on their phone, their tablet, their PC, anywhere. It's in the cloud. It doesn't load off onto anyone's phone. We'll take you through that now, just very quickly at a high level. This is the Execution in Your Pocket, or the Digital Compass dashboard. Now, this breaks every rule here, right? Showing this, you can't see it very well, but there are 8 different elements or squares on this below the picture, and each element is built on the neuroscience of how to engage the brain, the heart, the hands to make more happen, to be successful. And again, it helps you with lift, getting goals off the ground, and people feeling valued and connected, because again, you can access it on any device, any web-enabled device. Again, it does not load onto the machine, but it's just a device out there, any device that you can get on to YouTube, you can watch this. Okay, so how does it provide guidance? Well, let me show you 3 ways that it provides guidance. Number 1, every morning while you're waiting for your coffee to brew, your cafe, or your bagel to cook or something, right? You're on your phone, you're saying, here are the 2 or 3 actions I took on the goal yesterday. It takes a moment or 2, less than a minute. Un momento. To put in, here's what I did. Now, when that happens, it auto-populates to a team scoreboard where everyone can see what everyone else is doing. You can see the power when I'm just sharing, here are the things I did, right? On my phone, boom, boom, takes just a moment. Secondly, once a week, I'm making commitments. Here's the contributions I'm gonna make on the goal this week. And number 3, coaches corners. You'll see that's me there. David, Brian, and I all take turns doing the coaches corners. 3 times a week, people will get a moment with the coach with just a few sentences about ideas about how to execute more effectively on your goals this week. We'll talk about simplicity, visibility, accountability. We talk about leadership. We talk about communication, all the basic things we all have to do to be successful at achieving our goals, to have a successful team. Now, the next part is how do you provide energy? How do we make sure that people feel connected and see how they're growing? Again, we're doing this in 3 different areas. 1, with my contribution score. This is a gamified platform. It was built on the principles of Nintendo, Google games, Apple games, all those games, right? The electronic games my kids used to like to play. So I can see real time every day my contribution score. How many actions have I taken? How many points have I earned? But you also see, I can see my team score, and I can see the entire organization's score. Well, so wow, now I feel really engaged because I can see I'm making a difference. My team members are making a difference. I also every day get a little daily inspirational quote, a little positive thought, a little positive idea to begin my day. The neuroscience of that is when you have something positive in your brain, you by definition are more successful than you're focused on the negative. The negative tends to take the energy out of us. We tend to get frustrated. And finally, we have some videos. Every week there's one video. And now you see this is David Williams. And this is a video that David's done about simplicity and visibility driving accountability. And then at the bottom, you'll see it says, what will you do about this? So once a week, there's a little 3 or 4 minute video that people can watch on their phone, their computer, wherever. It's in the cloud. And it's just a motivational reinforcement teaching tool that then we ask them, how are you going to use this? How will you apply this? It's great that you watch the little short video, right? But what have I done about the video? How am I going to use it in my job? There are also lots of scoreboards. Here's a team scoreboard. You'll see this is part of our team scoreboard. We can see people earning points. It looks like I have lots of points. The truth is this is just a trial system. And so most of the team signs up under my name. And that's why it looks like I have 3 times as many points as David and Brian. It's not really true. Everyone's earning points for me because it's just a trial version, right? And you could even, all of you on the phone we can give you a trial to try out the trial version. You can actually try it out for a week, no charge. If you want to try it out, you're welcome to. We will offer that to you, okay? Finally, there's also scoreboards where you can see the whole team. And this one has a lot of information on it, but you can see what actions people took and what day they took the actions. You can see how much time did they spend on each goal that week. There's all kinds of information to guide people, to help people, etc. Here's why. Because when I feel connected, when I can see I'm making a difference, when I can see how my team's making a difference, it really does have a positive impact. What we are doing here with the 3 keys of execution with Recursos Humanos is sharing with you a process and a tool that can help you increase engagement and motivation, which will help you improve your goals. And ultimately, that's what everybody wants. There's an old saying that says, no money, no mission. We have to be successful. We have to achieve our goals, which is what we're wanting to help people do. It's just like if I'm on in a play, in an opera, in the theater, right? When we get good reviews from the critics in the paper, I feel very excited. I feel very motivated. When I'm on a team where I get high fives and I get positive comments for the things I'm doing, I feel motivated, engaged. David, what would you add about this scoreboard or this tool or anything else we've talked about?
Just to reinforce the point that everything that has been designed, even in the technology tool that we have here, this digital compass, everything that has been designed, whether it be the 3 keys of execution process or the technology here, it's all been designed to engage, right? So it's all based on neuroscience to get people involved, the positive affirmation, the positive messaging, the behavior modification. All these things are critical when it comes to creating a culture of execution. And so just understand that everything that we're talking about has been specifically designed to address these critical areas, right? Because we know without simplicity, particularly we know, especially without visibility, organization, it's going to be very difficult for them to create that culture of execution, which is what we're driving and striving for teams and companies to have.
Absolutely. Let me say one more thing here before we start for questions, and that is that we always get this question: how do you implement the 3 keys of execution? How do you do it? Well, it's very scalable. It's very easy to move an organization because the process is simple, and because of our electronic tool, as we call it here, Execution in Your Pocket, or the new digital compass. Why? Because we can conduct training via webinar, right? We all, Sonia, Maria, ourselves, we can help you with training. We can and use the tool to reinforce. We can also conduct training with just the executive team and use the tool to reinforce. So there's all kinds of ways that this can be done. It's really very, very easy, and it doesn't even take weeks. This can be done in a few hours, and people can be loaded up in the system electronically and loaded in days, in less than a week, be up and going. So it's really very, very easy to use, very easy to do. That's been our whole goal. So with that, I want to turn it back to Sonia and Maria and ask for what questions do you have? What comments do you have? Anyone, please ask any questions. If you prefer to ask in Portuguese, Sonia and Maria will take the question and translate if we need to answer. So, but anyway, you would like to get, please, we are so glad to have so many of you on the call with us. Questions. ¿Cómo se dice perguntas en portugués?
Perguntas.
Perguntas? Okay, perguntas. Okay, perguntas. Perguntas, por favor. Sorry, that's Spanish.
You are improving the accent. The Portuguese.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things, I apologize for interrupting there. One of the things that just to kind of reinforce and stress is that we can't express how excited we ought to be working with Maria and Sonia and with their organization, and the partnership that's being created here, and it's an opportunity for them to be able to take this process, take this approach, and to help organizations be successful in Portugal. And obviously, we're here to support them in whatever way we need to. But it truly is a great partnership that we're developing with them, and we're excited. So I want to make sure people understand when we talk about we conduct the training. is that they're our partners, and I mean, it's going to be really cool. We're really excited to be with them.
Yes, in fact, there are the emails right there. So, Sonia, Maria, questions, preguntas?
So, eu vou perguntar I will ask the audience if they have some questions. I will ask in Portuguese to help you to improve Portuguese accent, okay?
Graças.
Caso tenham questões, nós temos aqui o chat, podem colocar as vossas perguntas, podem colocar em inglês ou português, como se sentirem mais à vontade. Gostaríamos de ter aqui o vosso contributo, se possível. Obrigada. Let's see if they have questions or comments.
Okay. Hello, José Carlos speaking. How do you implement this in the very large organizations? Because I would guess that in the small organizations, it's quite, let's say, straightforward to apply those methodologies, etc. And the huge organizations, I guess that it's much tougher. If you can share your experience in a large organization like some of the ones that you already mentioned earlier.
Sure. So I'll start with that. David can add anything he would like. We usually start with the senior leadership team of a division or a group. Very rarely, even in large multinational organizations, do we start with the C-suite. We have done that. But for example, at Nissan or Toyota or FedEx or Walmart, and every one of those, we started with a division. Or for example, at Nissan, we started with corporate quality. So we started with the quality group, and we worked with that group and taught their group. We taught the senior leaders and worked with them to identify their goals. And then we taught with the next level of leaders, and then we used the tool to roll it out to everyone else. Because in the tool, there are onboarding videos where we teach them about simplicity, visibility, and accountability. In the tool, there are videos about actions and behaviors and commitments, ABCs, right? So we met with the senior leaders to identify goals, and then the next level of leaders, and then we use the tool to roll it out. Now, we have had groups where David has gone and stayed for weeks at a time and trained, a week at a time, and trained everyone. And that can be done that way, but it doesn't have to be done that way. It can be very much start with the senior leaders to make sure we all agree on what are the goals, why are we doing them, how are we wanting people to do them, right? And then maybe another level of leaders or another. It can all be done now through face-to-face, but it also can be done via webinar. So we have clients where we're actually teaching them about this via the webinars, and then because everything's built into the electronic tool, it can be rolled out. So it can be done very hands-on, face-to-face, face-to-face, face-to-face. In most organizations, it starts with some senior leaders, maybe the next level of leaders. And sometimes that next level is 150 or 200 or 500 leaders. And you can see how that could take weeks at a time. But with the electronic tools available now, it's much easier to implement. Did that make sense?
Yes, sure. At least for my case, because you also mentioned the lean process, and the lean process to implement in organization, it's quite similar.
Yep. Yes. David is a Six Sigma black belt and lean certified as well. I am not, but David is. So David's done a lot of that.
Yeah. And to answer the question is what's beautiful about this approach. Is that we meet the client where they are, right? So each client is unique and different, and we understand that going in and working with them. And so really the flexibility on how we do this makes it easier to meet the needs of the client. So we've obviously done this, as Kent said, in very complex organizations, from a structure matrix type organizations to very small, very simple organizations, 100 employees, 50 employees. And so what I would encourage everybody to understand on this webinar, it's the simplicity. We meet the client, we meet the customer where they are, and then we go from there. There's not this rigid, oh, you have to do it this way, right? The only thing that we want to make sure the client understands, 3 keys of execution. simplicity, visibility, and accountability. Process implementation all depends on what the client wants to do, where they want to go, and we meet them where they are.
Thank you for that question. It's a great question. We're happy to talk offline with you and Sonia Maria to talk more as well if you would like. Absolutely.
Okay, just related to that, I just have one more question to complement. Also in the large organizations, they are very multicultural colleagues. For some, let's say, cultures, it's quite hard to show all those KPIs, those dashboards as you mentioned, because they can feel offended in some way. Mm-hmm. They are in some organizations, in some countries, that it's quite easy to show to everyone the KPIs. How you overcome those cultural challenges?
Well, it is interesting, the difference, for example, between Europe and Asia, Europe and America, right? And so what we have found is that in some cultures, people don't want to feel like they're bragging, like they're saying, oh, I'm doing such a wonderful job. And so they're very you know, more to themselves. And some cultures is very much, you know, stand up on a pedestal and say, I'm doing this, look at me, I'm great, I'm wonderful. What we have found is if everyone understands that this is part of the responsibility to help the team. When you share what you were doing, then you help me see a best practice that I can apply. When you share with what you're learning, I see, oh, that makes me think of another idea, which I'll go do this. And so when people realize we're doing this to help each other, it isn't to show off or to say I'm wonderful, nor is it to say, well, I'm terrible. But when people are completely honest about, I tried this and it didn't work. I tried this and it did work. See, that's what we want, to create some more openness where we're going to share what works and what doesn't work. Because if it's not working for you, it probably won't work for me either. And so when at the very beginning we agree we're going to be open about this, it helps. It doesn't make it always easy, but it helps when people understand. From the CEO, she will share what she is doing and what's working and what's not working. The president, the vice presidents, everyone will do that. Then it makes it a little easier. Not always easy, but easier. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
One more. Now I see a chat here. Someone says, "Can I use this tool?"
Yeah, that was me. That was me, Ken, answering a question. Yep.
Oh, okay, you answered it. Okay, yeah. Okay, good. Gracias. Okay. Preguntas. Por favor. Sorry, I'm sorry. How do you say por favor in Portuguese?
Por favor. Por favor.
Por favor.
Pura.
Pura?
Favor.
Favor. I'm not saying that one. That's like half French, half Spanish. I'm sorry. I'm going to say that.
It's quite similar, Ken.
It is quite similar. Yes, it is. They are very similar. Yes. ¿Cómo te hablas?
We just push more on the R's.
The R's. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay. This has been great fun. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I am. That's why I love Europe so much. I lived in Germany for a few years. I love Europe. I love all the languages and the food. Oh, it's fantastical. Fantastico.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Other questions?
Okay. We had one, but David had already answered it.
Okay. About
a small organization that can have also the possibility to work with this tool and methodology.
Okay. Well, as I said, we are recording this. We will share that recording with Maria and Sonia later today when we get loaded up to YouTube. Then you'll be able to share with anyone who wants to watch this webinar. So feel free to share it with your coworkers or people you know in other organizations that you think might benefit. We are very open to giving ideas for helping people get better. We know some people will get enough just from listening to this. Some people need a little more help, and we're more than happy to help. We have tools and processes. We are very, very grateful for the opportunity to partner with Recursos Humanos, Slot?
Yes.
Slot?
Yes. Yes.
And Sonia and Maria. So thank you very much for your time today. So a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so
very much.
Thank you, Kent and David. It was very amazing to have you with us and to starting to celebrating this partnership. I think that it will be a success. Thank you so much for your availability also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
It's Spanish.
Ciao.
It's Spanish.
I know it's Spanish. Yeah, I can't remember what to say in Spanish. I know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend.
No.
Ciao.
No,
Ciao.
it's okay.
Ciao. Ciao.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.